Hi, I'm Mason Harvey, and this is my course reflection for Healthcare Law and Risk Management. I decided to do my course reflection on the risk assessment that we did for the Norton versus Argonaut Insurance Company case. This is a case that involved poor communication between physicians and nurses that resulted in the untimely death of a 3-month-old infant named Robin Norton. I'd never done a risk assessment before, and by doing so, with all of the different steps, I was able to pinpoint multiple causes that led to Robin's death. This also made me reflect upon how today's technology could be used to reduce the risk of an event like this happening again. I used the Institute for Healthcare Improvement's Quality Improvement Essentials Toolkit to perform the risk assessment. There were 5 parts: the cause and effect diagram, the 5 whys, a flow chart, the failure mode evaluation analysis, or FMEA, and situation background assessment recommendation, also known as an SBAR. I enjoyed how IHI put this toolkit together. It was very user-friendly and gave really good detail for the students to complete. I would definitely refer back to this institute for further resources in the future when performing a risk assessment. The first part of the risk assessment was creating the cause and effect diagram, also known as a fishbone diagram. I had never heard of this before this class or seen one. I think it's a very interesting way to put a lot of the information just out right in front of you. I would maybe do it differently the next time. I wasn't very confident when I submitted this assignment initially, but now that I feel like I have a better hand on it. The second step of our risk assessment was the 5 whys. This assignment definitely brought me back to my childhood, as I was the kid who would always ask why, and I still do to this day. I liked that this format could really pinpoint a cause, and I just like being able to write it out and see how one thing led to another. I'll definitely be using this in the future because it really laid things out quite nicely. The next step of our risk assessment was the flow chart. I had done flow charts in the past, but I've done them all by hand, and using Visio was super nice, and I will be using that in the future. It definitely makes your charts look much more professional. And I also just enjoyed doing the flow chart, as it's a great visualization tool to see the different decision points, where you could go yes or no, what would happen. And it made you really think about the decisions that had to be made in those points. And I just think this is a good tool to use for risk assessments, and I can't wait to utilize Visio to create other flowcharts in the future. The fourth step in our risk assessment was the failure mode evaluation analysis, or FMEA. This was another portion that I'd never heard of. And I kind of struggled with this in reality. Coming up with the different potential failure modes were kind of difficult. I could come up with maybe 1 or 2, and then that third one was really pushing me to think outside the box, which was good because sometimes it can be hard to find those areas where something may happen that you might not think of. So that was really pushed me outside my comfort zone, and that was nice. I enjoyed calculating the hazard scores. That was fun. and trying to figure out, the severity and probability for each one. And then it was fun trying to figure out the different descriptions of action. Overall, this pushed me as a student, which was nice, and it's a tool that I can continue to try to improve on my abilities, as this was not one of my strong points in my opinion. The fifth and final step of our risk assessment in the Norton case is the SBAR, which stands for Situation, Background, Assessment, and Recommendation. I am a little more familiar with this concept, but I've never personally done one. I've seen several as we utilize these in my place of work due to several construction projects that are going on, and so there's things that are closed down, like hallways or elevators. So the facilities management send out the SBARs to all the employees so they are aware of what is going on, why it's going on, and what to expect. I like the idea of the SBAR as an executive summary. I have never thought of it in that way, and I think it is a great way to quickly and easily summarize an incident, especially when having to send the information to several different people. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this course and learned a lot. It was fun learning new things about risk assessments and how they can be utilized and the different steps that go into them. I was able to learn new techniques and apply some techniques that I've already were familiar with, but in different ways. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed the discussions I had throughout this post with my classmates. I know those were kind of more difficult towards the end of this course due to my illness, but it was still fun to be able to reply and look back on others' posts to see how they thought or how they differed thinking from me. I really enjoyed trying to push my classmates, and I enjoyed when my classmates pushed me on different topics. Overall, I really enjoyed this class, and I have a new love for risk assessments and quality. And lastly, I just wanted to say thank you for a wonderful course. I really appreciate everything that you've taught me and can't wait to apply it. And these are my references.